The objectives the United States has on sustainability by 2050 are really pretty simple. What we really want to do is educate people on what the problem is, which is how do we feed 9 billion people by 2050 in a responsible and sustainable way. And the way we're trying to do that is really to educate people on new ideas, new innovations, new technologies, and entrepreneurship, because those are really going to be the keys that are going to motivate people to solve this enormous problem. But it's not just about the United States. It's about all 140 plus countries that are at Expo in the role that they're going to play in this incredible exercise that we need to tackle. So it's incumbent upon us to help lead that conversation as the United States, but also we want to be around the table with our partner countries to solve this particular problem. The legacy of Expo really, I think, is multifaceted. We want people to leave at the end of October and have learned about this critical issue of how do we feed the planet. This is the most critical issue of our lifetime. So the notion of how do we feed our neighbors, our friends, people we don't even know around the world is absolutely critical to diplomacy. So we in the United States think it's one of the key elements of our diplomacy around the globe as to how we feed people. So the legacy ought to be educating people on that particular issue, hopefully exciting people about changing what they do, and it can be really as simple as wasting less food. It can be simple as growing different kinds of foods around the world. But those are critical elements that we need to take. And then the other piece is we're doing with the accelerator, which is building new companies. And these new companies are going to be critical to solving this problem of how do we feed 9 billion people. Because innovation is absolutely at the core. So if we do nothing else at Expo, if we leave Expo and we build great companies that can help solve this problem of either through bioengineering, through logistics, through big data, whatever it might be, those are going to be absolutely critical, and they will survive forever, whereas Expo ends at the end of October. The other piece of it is educating people on the critical issues around the world, such as climate change, on what kind of crops should be grown. All of these things are really critical issues. So the legacy of Expo really ought to be around education, it ought to be about innovation, and it ought to be about growing great companies around the world. So that I think are the key elements of what we're going to leave behind when we leave at the end of October. Places like Copernico can really play a critical role on how we innovate around technology, because the issue of how we feed 9 billion people will not be solved with today's technology. We need to invent new things, new companies, new processes, new ideas. So Copernico can be really an interesting sort of farm system, if you will, to build new companies, not just here in Italy, but around the world. So these kind of innovative steps that we're all going to have to take start with entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur in my career. I've built companies as I was in Silicon Valley for many, many years. So these kinds of institutions like Copernico are really critical to excite people about starting new companies to help solve this critical problem.